Get a better business now. Listen in as the two business guys mastermind on what your business is going to look like after the pandemic. Getting back to normal or getting back to better. This business podcast, the two business guys mastermind, uncovers for you secrets and share tips and tricks to entrepreneurship as they mastermind on how to have startup, operational, and overall business success so that you can go on to get better results. Enjoy. Hey everybody, we are back. The two business guys are masterminding in an area I think you're going to love. We're talking about, is your business still in war footing, right? The pandemic has just smacked around so many businesses. Are you still scared out there? Are you still hovering over those resources? Or have you opened up totally? And John was just talking about what he's seeing out there in the business space. I want to bring in some examples too of companies that are so frightened they're not coming and opening back up. Is that going to affect the customers out there, John? Go ahead and finish that story that you were telling me, John.
So, yeah, just to recap a little bit, I think that business has changed drastically over the past year and a half. I think that it has changed more than it has over the past 10 years. And I think that, Randy, you had brought up the question of war footing. Well, what does this mean, and how, companies structured themselves over COVID? And first, I started out by saying that I went and got my hair cut on Monday, and it'd taken me a few days to get in to get my hair cut, and that was because of hours of change to the business. The days of the week had changed to the business, and staffing had changed. People had left the industry because of being shut down for a certain amount of time during COVID. And then on top of that, listening to the individual, and like I said, I didn't do the research on this part of it, but stating that less and less people are going through that specific trade. Coupled with that, and I don't know if you've been paying attention, someone had mentioned it to me in passing on Thursday, and then I saw an article about it yesterday, that employers are seriously vetting 4-day work weeks. So, I think that the transitioning on how we work changed as well. But then you're looking at locations like retail locations that had been prosperous for the longest time. And what happened was they noticed, these retail locations, big box stores, noticed that more and more people were getting comfortable with online purchasing, the convenience, not just the convenience, but also the less strain on the retail organization, because as we talked about, warehouse space is a lot cheaper than retail space. No employee, not as much employee expense, et cetera, et cetera. But I think what you're seeing is those silos are being broken down in companies like that. Whereas e-commerce was this ancillary product that, yes, we had, but it wasn't as robust as we want to grow it now, because we see that we've pretty much fast forwarded 10, 15 years in the future. So yeah, I think business, the pandemic has changed business forever, and I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I think the individuals in the businesses that are going to hurt are the businesses that continue to hold on to the fact that they need retail space. And I'm not saying that don't have retail space, but I'm saying, hey, if, you know, the way that purchasing is going, you might want to look at the e-commerce a little harder. We know that Amazon is the number one retailer in the world. Jeff Bezos became the first trillionaire over the pandemic in history. Um, this it's catching on, and people are seeing the convenience of it, and not only seeing the convenience, it's like this, Randy. People don't want to go into the office anymore. Why?
Right.
Is because over the past year and a half, they've experienced these types of schedules where this work life balance has been altered, and they're not spending the time driving into the office and every day of the week and whatnot, and they're like, hey, I'm getting more work done at home.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and
Working
so
working more, working longer. Companies are getting better quality work. There is a other side of this. I was reading a psychological survey that says, yeah, and now there's burnout, and now there's, because people
absolutely.
haven't turned off. But go ahead, finish. I kind of like, there's something interesting in what you said, and I got a something I noticed just yesterday when I went to a restaurant. I'm looking around for servers and what they
Yeah,
told me next.
yeah. Yeah, even this, my wife and I, a few weeks ago, we went to a restaurant for the first time in a long time, and the menus were the QR codes.
Hmm.
So you pull up your photo app and scan the QR code, and the menu
Hmm.
comes right up on your mobile phone. I
Hmm.
I think that was unheard of. There might have been some high tech or millennial type companies that did something like that prior, but I think more and more you're seeing this rapid change in the way that business is done,
Yep.
and I don't think that it's a bad thing. I think a lot of the changes are spectacular. So yes, you are going to have individuals that take advantage of situations like working from home and whatnot, and I think you'll be able to root those individuals out. You'll be able to see the work, the quality of work that they're doing. I
Hmm.
don't think that's something that you cannot monitor from afar. I don't think you need to be hovering over somebody's desk or cubicle
Yeah.
to
And there's
to see
companies that
that.
will do that. There are
Yes, yep,
literally companies, John, that I had read about, and sorry for interjecting here, but that could detect times they were at the computers. In fact, when I used to send a lot of work out overseas, they could literally show you, that they're working on your projects, or if you're being billed for, 20 hours, they can literally, show you times that the people are at the computer, a keyword, keystroke, all kind. And there's firms that were starting to do that, right? In other words, they're the manager, instead of being in the office where you can see whether or not people are working, or if they're at the, if they're at the coffee station, or the water cooler, you can see if they're working. So whole businesses just to monitor. Right now, here's something. When I go to my bank, right, and I go to the ATM, if you will, or credit union I have, and they have totally gotten rid of the teller space, and somebody just shows up and says, okay, well, do you need any help talking to our machine? And the people will have like a big old thing behind them, but they're at their kitchen table working,
yep.
or they're in their living room and they just got, you don't see what's going on behind them, and they come on and do your financial transaction, right? So that's kind of cool. So after you get off a call, you can go to the bathroom, right? If you got a little break, you could take a nap. I loved, it's one of the reasons why I stopped doing 9 to 5 over 3 years ago, because I wanted to control my time, and I wanted to be able to control my movements. If I get up at 4, 3 in the morning, 2 or 3 in the morning, if I feel like it, get some work done, and then have the rest of the day, that's up to me. I've done a 10-hour day at eight, if I started at 2 just because I couldn't sleep or something, at 10, 8-hour day,
Hmm.
versus
Hmm.
what the office was demanding because I had to come in and I had to, wipe off my car. I had to go out there and shovel some snow because guess what? We live in Michigan.
Mhm.
I mean, all these different things that have now gone away, right? But I can't wait to tell you about this restaurant story. Um,
So no, go ahead. I think absolutely. I think business has changed. It'll never be the same. If you're going to operate the same way that you did a year and a half ago, you're probably going to have some issues,
yeah,
and you are quickly becoming obsolete. So please, if you're trying to attract new talent, they're going to look at some of these things. So that, I mean, if you want to get the best of the best, and you're going to have to put some trust. Now I understand there's some work that cannot be done in this manner, like manufacturing and whatnot, or even in the hospitality space of catering and restaurant. But in spaces like call centers and offices that are pretty much doing uh, solo work, not collaborative work, um, that they can do it from their kitchen table and be more effective than they can otherwise.
in the comfort of their own home, the
Mhm.
kitchen, even within that home space, right? I was reading about a product that you can literally, I think we talked about this on one of our other podcasts, that you can put in your home that's soundproof, right? It's a little box in essence. Instead of having like the backyard shed or the she shed in the backyard,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
literally can have this thing within your home. It's like a telephone booth size, and you can go in there and do your thing, have your meetings, right? I mean that's and it wasn't that expensive. I think it was like this particular model was kind of tricked out, right? It was a little bit bigger. I mean, big enough for you to kind of lay down in if you needed to. And it was just like, I thought, oh my gosh, the possibilities of what can be created from that. And imagine now you had a area, but you got kids running around, they're making noise, but you can go into this little, phone booth type office space, right? And you could in an office because I was telling my wife about it. She's got an office space. I says, hey, why don't you get a couple of these things and then you can rent them out because people don't want to have that call center, type feel. They can go right into the office and then go into that thing and it could pay
Mhm.
itself back, right? But now you can also put those in your home. Same concept. And then do all the business that you need to do quiet away from the noise of the area and say and still be at home, right? It could be in if you got a nice sized bedroom or reasonable sized bedroom, it could be in one part of it, right? Where your spouse or your girlfriend boyfriend is sleeping over in the actual bedroom. So many
Mhm.
cool things. Here's what happened when I went to a restaurant the other day. So I was meeting a guy there to do some business with, and we go in. I hadn't been to this restaurant around. They stayed closed for the most part, right? And ramped up their delivery service, right? To the point. And now here's what's interesting. They ramped it up so well that they were making a nice chunk of change just from delivery.
Mhm.
Right now, this is a restaurant that has ample space for chairs, a whole deal, right? And I thought, man, are they going to survive? I kind of like this restaurant. They're reasonably new, but man, they ramped it up so well. So when I went in the other day, I'm looking around for servers to seat us. And she, oh no, you seat yourself. So what do we seat ourselves? So, oh yeah, yeah. And by the way, on the table, you'll have a big QR code. Scan that, order, and we'll bring your food out. Oh, and by the way, you get your water over there. So you talk about self serve. I was a little, like, wait a minute, I kind of want to be served here, to it because I'm used to that. And it was a little different, but then once I went on, John, it was so easy. The QR code showed me the stuff on the that they're offering. I picked some stuff out. I was able to And then, of course, here's one thing that they asked for. And I thought this was the brilliant part of it. Okay. Didn't ask for too much information, but where do we send your receipt? And you put your email address down, right? How many restaurants have not done that? They didn't, never collected an email. So now you have a chance to follow up with them, send out specials, all kinds of stuff. Now, I haven't gotten anything other than the receipt, but that to me was the potential innovation, that now you can have a customer base that you can send out information to. So now you can drive traffic as opposed to sitting back waiting for it to come to your door. That was a really cool thing that I saw. And I don't know if they're going to do that, but because of the space that I'm in the digital space, this is stuff that I do all the time. I get up in the morning, I send out an email to my list. I have a product or service that I want to introduce them to, or a video I want to show them, or something like that, right? And then I go fishing or something, because now I've sent out to my list and have the potential to get sales based on somebody clicking on that, going, oh, that's interesting. Let me see what that is, and buy. And I could be anywhere else, right? I thought that was so cool. We had our dinner. They brought it. The only thing I didn't like, John, is that they had a gratuity automatically set in, and I was like, I didn't get no service,
Yeah,
so I'm not giving
and
a
that
tip.
and that's probably why they did it, Randy. If you think about it, is that mindset, because do we give we inherently, when we go to restaurants that we don't have that interaction, that type of service, historically we don't give tips.
That's right.
If you go to McDonald's, Burger King,
No tip.
Checkers, etc., you don't give tips, um, even because it's not that type of restaurant. Usually that's reserved for when you have a wait person coming to your table and taking your
Right.
order and whatnot.
Exactly.
And so they're probably just put that 18%
That's
or
exactly what it
whatever.
was. 18%. I thought.
Yeah, that's usually pretty standard, right on the ticket. And some restaurants have been doing that for a long time, because wait staff wasn't adequately compensated
Mm-hmm.
for the work that they've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's one of those things that, yeah, I see why they're doing it, and because it's changing the mindset of the way that they're doing business, and they don't want customers to get in the habit of saying, hey, treating it like a fast food restaurant.
Yeah. Now imagine on the other side of that, John. So if you guys are out there listening, this could be an opportunity if you're the opposite, right? I love to be contrarian in certain areas. Sometimes, my whole thinking pattern, if I see somebody going left, I'm looking over there going, yep, but everybody else is going left. I'm going to go right.
Mm-hmm.
To a degree, that's swimming against the tide, but at the same time, that's getting me over to blue ocean, right? If you're into the red ocean, blue ocean, the blue ocean shift type of thinking. So I have another restaurant that I go to that I love, that I've compared everybody I've gone to them. They're cash only, right? We don't have to say the name, but they're cash only. I get plenty of food. I can always take some home. And I've watched other restaurants that are probably still in war footing giving me a small plate and a high price, right? And I go, hey, wait a minute. Don't take it out on me. Don't try to, make it all back on me. I want a nice little. I actually told one restaurant that I went to, I says, is this it? Is there more food coming? I'm looking around. Is there more food coming? So no, this is it. And that price was hefty. So I thought, if a restaurant out there is saying, hey, we have real wait staff, right? We wait on you hand and foot. And get this, the place that I go to, that and they suffered, they had to shut down the whole thing, right? But man, they're always busy. And it seemed to me that they're busier now. So on one hand, you got the place that says, hey, we're going to get rid of our wait staff for the most part. We're going to just work to our people that are on salary. We don't have all these bodies around. Get your own water. You know what I'm saying? Didn't have lemons out there or nothing for me, right? And it was a little plastic cup, and I was like, man, this is not service,
Mm-hmm.
right? The
Mm-hmm.
food was, it was good, but right? The experience to me was affected. I get it. I understand it. I understand the business model. But at what point do you come off that war footing, that fear? At what point do you get rid of that scarcity mindset and all that and be of continual service to your clients and your customers? So just think about that, everyone, if you're listening. Think about, do I stay here because it was such a hard time, or do I go and say, hey, we are totally opposite of what you're seeing. Come because you're going to be served well. That
Yeah.
would be something
Yeah.
that I would really think about. All right, so John, what else are we seeing? I'm seeing in the content delivery space. All right, now this is kind of fun, man, because I'm in the content creation space. I'm seeing so many companies jumping into the streaming space, right? And the delivery of movies and content for you. IMBD, right, has IMBD TV. Redbox has Redbox TV. You told me about Tuli, an app that helps you stream different things. Man, are you talking about eroding so many different business models out there? It made me pick up Christensen's The Innovator's Dilemma, right? Written in 1997. But just talking about that same concept, we're seeing opportunities for content creators to now deliver their stuff on so many, so many different platforms now, right? If you're a content creator out there, you should be creating shows every week and then letting them fight over your stuff. Right? Because all of these places are out there trying to find a customer. The ABCs, the NBCs, the CBSs of the world, man, I feel very badly for them because now the cable operators are in there, just eating their lunch in their space. This is a wonderful time, everybody.
Yeah, you mean the streaming
Mm-hmm.
services, not the cable space, because I think traditional take cable has been suffering for the last few years because of
They have.
the streaming services.
They're
And
coming in eating their lunch.
yeah, guess what? Hey, I don't need to hardwire anything in my house. My TV in my bedroom is Wi-Fi. So I'm connected to Netflix or Amazon or whatever.
So you're saying
With
that the hardware has the ability to now show all this stuff, whereas before we had a cable that had to go into the bedroom, and a cable company
Right.
called me up and tried to sell me some kind of box. I was like, no, I don't need it. I got that TV right there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, it's only such and such a month. I said, so let's see if I got this right. I'd have to rent it from you. And I thought, man, that's kind of antiquated thinking. The girl that was trying to sell me this kind of chuckled, because not a lot of our customers are aware of the fact that you go buy the TV and the TV allows you to even buy channel. In fact, I was on the Disney Channel. I was trying to find a particular show, so I rented the Disney Channel for a while. And man, I mean, the Disney Channel had some cool stuff on there. Um, but they kind of ticked me off a little bit because I saw that they were trying to sell me a movie that was just coming out, right? That didn't get great reviews. But anyway, it was just coming out. And they said, hey, for $29, you can watch this movie. And I thought, man, that's $29. That's more than I'd pay at the movie. Right? Don't get me wrong, I got a nice size TV, but I don't have the movie projector experience. I was a little ticked about that, right? Before it had been like, hey, for $19, okay, so $10 each, watch this movie, the theater experience at home, blah blah blah. But man, 29? I was like, no way. I don't care how it's branded. I don't care who it's through. Right? I was not gonna pay that money, man. Not that amount. That was going too far to me, John.
Yeah, yeah. and now we can get the theater experience in our house. I mean, you can go to Best Buy or Amazon online and order one of those little projector things,
Yeah, so much
and
stuff
hook
you
it
can
up.
do.
Yeah, I mean, in your backyard. I mean, families are having movie nights in their backyard in the summertime. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just phenomenal how far technology has come, and I think that the pandemic has just increased that, and and yeah, just made that a part of our lives a lot earlier. I think it was inevitable. Like you were talking about going into the bank. I had actually went into a credit union about a year before the pandemic,
Mhm.
and over in the East Grand Rapids area, and they had that technology where you were basically, there was no counter. You were walking up to a screen.
Yeah.
A live person would greet you on the screen and chat with you. So you had that interaction, but that person, depending on, the traffic from branch to branch, was pretty mobile. I mean, they could be in East Grand Rapids, or they could be in, Phoenix, Arizona, depending on where the customer was. So I think we're realizing with technology, we can. I mean, think about this. I used to drive hours and get on planes for hours, waste days, just just to have a meeting in front of somebody.
I
And
know.
now we're pulling up the Zoom, and we're having a conference, a Zoom conference, looking face to face at the individuals, clear across the country, clear across the world. And it's it's breaking barriers down,
Yeah. Yeah.
that presented problems before.
If you're fully contrarian, like I can be sometimes, you could just make a killing right now, just going opposite. All right. So I saw a commercial the other day for a restaurant train. It's like, welcome back. Welcome back. They was using that. Welcome back. And it showed
Welcome back,
people
Cotter.
getting, no, not welcome back, Carter, but it was, I think it was Cheers. Welcome back. It had the same kind of,
Mm-hmm.
in a place you can be, welcome back, right? And I was like, man, I know that nostalgically. I know that that tune, but they had put different words to it to help welcome people back. Now I can't say I hadn't seen my best friends from third grade in so long. He was extra careful. He's like, look, my daughter's got asthma. I cannot get COVID. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to bring it home and people start getting, in a bad way, right? Um, but man, we met the other day for the first time in over a year, face to face, where we could give each other some dap and hug and all that kind of stuff. And around the room, I was seeing a lot of people saying, "Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you, to be able to sit down with you." All right. I was a little taken aback by how many people still weren't wearing masks. I'm fully vaccinated, but still, I was like, I still don't want to get it. You know what I mean? It's kind of a thing, that the mask have flown off in the gym. I still wear my mask at the gym, right? I mean, I fully mask up. I got a particular kind, so it helps me, with the airflow restriction to kind of help your, lung capacity, blah blah blah. But man, nobody's wearing a mask. Maybe one other person. I was like, well, that's taking it a little bit too far. Right? We don't want the Delta variants to get us. But still, it's like, um, if you are going opposite to what you're seeing, you can make a killing just on, for those people that, want the big plates. If you're in the food space, the people that said they still want that retail experience, you put out a nice little commercial or do some ads that's saying, hey, here we take care of you. We've got a full staff. Let's do it. All right. Here's something, John. Had you experienced this? Gone to a very, I don't even want to say their name because I don't want to throw shade at them. A very popular dollar store. Shoot, I just maybe let it all out. But and they're closed. No staff.
Hmm.
No staff. Right? Very
Really?
popular, right? Especially within the city. Closed, no
Wow.
staff. right? Sign up, close, no staff, right? And we know one of our favorite juice guys was saying, hey, I can't get people to show up. I can't get them to show up, and I can't staff them. So I had to shut down for the day.
Hmm.
Wow, right? And then I saw something that a company did that was, oh my gosh, so incredible. I was telling some other people about it, and they were like, huh, that's interesting. They said, work today, paid tomorrow.
Hmm.
Now, this is a retail joint. Work today, paid tomorrow. Get paid tomorrow. Now, that's a way to keep the doors open. They were like, we can't have a staff shortage. Imagine how many people are in what I like to call situational employment. They just want to earn enough to get some new shoes, pay a bill, right? Work today, pay tomorrow. That kind of stuff
You,
is unheard of in
but
the
you,
typical retail space.
but you think about this, Randy. This is, I mean, yes, in today's world, it is unheard of, but this was a common thing 100 years ago, day labor, and in some places of the country, especially with immigrant populations,
Mhm,
we
mhm.
do see this type of transaction taking place. Um, Oftentimes, though, it's the individuals are taking advantage of cheap labor and
Right, right. They
taking,
pull up and they pick up some folks.
yep.
So
And
that
so,
you see the model though that they're using in a
right, right,
non-traditional type of space. I think it'll be
yes,
successful.
yep. I yes, and so yes, given that, and this is there are a couple of the ways to look at this, and the reason that I don't like this model is because what it does is it takes employers out of the equation of saying, hey, I'm going to provide certain
Yeah,
benefits
I
being,
agree.
health insurance and life insurance and a 401k or vacation time, so paid time off. If I'm getting paid for each day that I work, and I'm working for 50 different, no one's paying me on, take a vacation or a
Sure.
mental health day.
And that,
So yeah.
on the employee side, I know exactly is in bringing in um when I was in workforce development, we talked about the temporary service temp service mentality,
Hmm.
right? It is out, it's again situational employment, but you're balancing that. And so I see it from both sides, right? Oh my gosh, you're destroying the fabric of what you just mentioned, being and feeling like an employee. But this company is probably looking at like, look, if we're closed, we as an organization are threatened with shutdown because people will choose somebody else, right? So now you have the potential for the erosion of the brand and the brand loyalty, right? Because they go, well, they're shut down. Yeah, forget about it. Let's go over here. Right. I don't want, if I'm dating someone, I don't want them to date someone else, right? Because they might like them better or they may get used to them faster or whatever it is, right? I want them here. So you can kind of understand what's happening because they're just trying to keep the doors open. And think about this too. Now, what I heard every time you said those employee benefits, I go expense, 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 expense. That's the thing. What I'm talking about, the war footing. Are you? How long do you continue to stay on war footing? Right, in the peacetime era, are if it's all over, if the COVID, the enemy is over, how long do you stay on war footings, and what could that do to your company? Like you just said, this is a
Hmm.
national brand, national, thousands of stores. I'm pretty sure they got over 1,000 stores now are saying, hey, we got to get rid of a sneaky way to get rid of expenses, the things you mentioned. Hey, we don't have to pay vacation. Wait a minute, what's that? Right? And you're not going to get employee loyalty because somebody's going to again come in and says, well, pay me today,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
It just becomes a whole different ball game. I see the excitement and possibility of it, but also from your point, I can see, man, I don't know who this is. Some brand new random person that don't know what they're doing, right? And then who is going to suffer from that? In this restaurant space, they had managers that are on salary were the main employees there. That was it.
Hmm.
They're working their tail off. The
Mm-hmm.
managers, right, now are being asked to do all of these things, even though it's going to be QR codes and all that kind of stuff. Still, they got to be there. Interesting, isn't it? So, hey, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
guys, if you're just jumping in, we're talking about, how long should the company or your company, how long should you stay on this war footing approach, right? And if we're in peacetime, and I say that metaphorically, to say that COVID is no longer smacking us around, should you maintain this very trimmed approach to you doing your business, this bare bones approach, whether it's employee wise or whatever? Should you maintain it, or could you go totally against, be a contrarian and create value for your clients and customers in a whole different way? That becomes, perhaps an opportunity. Or do you continue on, and will that help save your company for years to come? John, are we getting so used to this minimalist type of service? Are we willing to accept this minimalist type of service? Right? Are we totally online thinking now? And if so, there's some big brands that are going to go away fast.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been saying this for years as well, is that we've saw the trends on local boutique type branding. Um, when we were growing up, Randy, Nike, Adidas, I mean, brands were the just simply that they meant something. You know what I mean? It was,
Mm-hmm.
just do it. I need those Air Jordans, and I'm gonna be able to jump from the foul line and when I shoot hoops or whatever. I mean, there was that mindset, but in today's world, I think that there are so many brands, and there are brands that are more local or cause driven and whatnot, that I think some of these larger brands are going to struggle. And I'll give you an example. I was driving down the expressway Thursday night, Thursday night, and I saw Budweiser has a seltzer, what is it, lemon or something seltzer, like
Mm-hmm.
spritz,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, man, Budweiser, they would have never been in that space, but we've seen that that's the space that's been trending. We've seen that big breweries have bought microbreweries,
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot, and keeping the brand, because those things attract individuals. And I think what you're going to see is you're going to see the Nikes of the world, just like they've done before, but I think you're going to see it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Nike owns Reebok, but I think you're going to see all of a sudden Nike owns, like they used to own Cole Haan. You know what I mean? Like they're
Mm-hmm.
like these boutique type brands that you're like, oh, Nike owns them. I didn't realize that they. But I think these businesses, these corporations, understand the value in that, because they see buying trends, and they would be crazy not to jump in that into the lake.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah. And this is exactly it. What you said, John, and you said it earlier, I think maybe off camera. You said it's the omni-channel approach,
mhm.
right? Expand on that a little bit, because I think we're seeing it when I was talking about IMBD, right? They're creating content now, whereas their model used to be something else. Who is this Thule? Who is what is Redbox? We used to go up to the little Redbox spot, but guess what? We don't want to get bring COVID home because we're tapping on stuff, right? I was reading, I was talking with a friend of mine yesterday, and he says he hadn't played poker in a while because the
Mhm.
casinos, they were
Mhm.
like, we're not doing all that, card touching stuff. And he was like, man, I like to play poker. Right. So because he wasn't playing, now you can understand that online poker, that omni-channel, right? The casinos could just, open up and says, hey, we just do it online, have their same visual of the dealer dealing and all that, all kinds of stuff that then is created, spun up, if you will, because that's a new approach. And then when they go, hey, wait a minute, this is working pretty good. Like our restaurant example, this is working pretty good. Let's stay here, right? And then at what point do people get tired of that? When everyone else is kind of serving and going out there and doing some good stuff, and you still are in war footing, right? Or you're still maintaining that same approach, right? Because the business model worked during this particular time and a little bit after, because people were still scared. But when it all the way opens up, what then? Right? I had promised myself that I wouldn't take a vacation in 2021. I would just put my head down and work. And I wanted the world to be totally open when I went back out. So 2022, I'm looking at places to go because that's when I can, I'll feel comfortable. Though I think the world will be open up, and you're starting to see that. But I want to go to the place, man, that still has some assurances, right? I still want to see people like spraying down stuff. You know what I mean? I don't want limitations. A lot of places are going, hey, you don't have to, quarantine now when you come in our country and all that kind of stuff if you're fully vaccinated. But then just the other day, I think it was Pfizer came out and says, "Oh yeah, by the way, we're seeing some breakdown in our um, uh,
Hmm.
vaccination coverage." Now you kind of know the game, right? That no, once you start something, organism and organization wants to survive. So you open this up. Every year the big companies are going to say, "Oh, by the way, you got to get a booster." That's
I
that's
think,
that's the
yeah, that's
that's
inevitable.
kind of the game, right? But don't scare. Now that scares me. It's like, oh man, I took all that. I had a couple of side effects afterwards, right? I was like, wait a minute, not just the injection site pain, right? I had some other little things going on, right? So now they're telling me, oh my gosh, you're gonna have to get a booster. You're gonna have to do this. I'm like, man, that stinks. I guess I'm not covered, right? And then you hear about people getting it even though they're vaccinated. Will the world ever open up because we got the same kinds of fear, or a new something comes in, right? Then you don't do you believe it? Is it hype? Is it somebody, some machine over there? The drug companies have a machine, scaring people, a propaganda machine just scaring the folks. I don't know, John. I'm so confused sometimes, especially with right. So okay, let's get back on it. Companies, are you coming off your war footing? Right? Can you take advantage of those that are still so scared, right? That are still just kind of um, putting their stuff out there in a minimalist way, or are you so used to treating your customers this way and they're taking it that you've decided to go ahead and continue it? That becomes the big question. So, John, did you want to share a couple other things that you're noticing before we wrap it up? What else is going on out there, man? What else should we be, you know, demanding of these this company's new approach?
Yeah, I think there's so many things that are changing so rapidly that it extends outside of business, outside of commerce. I mean, we're looking at transportation. Um, Retailers are experimenting with drones. So what does that mean for delivery type
Mm-hmm.
services? Education is changing now, and you always you've we've had for 20 years plus years we've had online education, but now more than ever, you are going to see a competition like no other between these online education systems and public schools and private schools, parochial schools. And I think there's going to be something's going to have, come to head there.
Mhm.
And I think that if we're not thinking about these things in society and we're not asking ourselves these questions and the impact that they pose, then we're going to find ourselves in a position where we're not prepared. We're scrambled as business
Wow.
owners.
Yeah.
If we depend on these types of services, and that's any service to continue the way that they've always continued, I think strategic plans are going to be shorter. You're going to see strategic plans they're very small in scope
Hmm. Hmm.
and that have an ability to pivot if necessary.
Yeah. And that's what we
And
talked about last week, right? Adaptability. How
yep,
adaptable is your
yep,
business?
yep. So many things, and if you're not doing this, you're uh, you're setting your business up to fail.
Yeah.
You're
It's already out of
this
business.
is yeah this is the new way of doing things, of anything. I mean, now from going to the doctor's office, think about this. Everybody complained 20 years ago when we went to call centers. Do you remember?
Hmm.
When we
Hmm.
went from these customer service lines that were in-house and whatnot to mass call centers overseas, lots and lots of complaints. Um, people were upset. Well, now we're going to see that that's not necessary anymore because I can go on my phone to my mobile app and get a hold of somebody. I can place a prescription order. I can reserve a haircut time. I can order a pizza. I can do anything. I mean, not anything, not the things I can't get my car fixed. So those things will continue um, to be, but I think technology is going to even change in the way that we look at that as well.
Hmm.
What does that look like? I don't know. I
Man.
don't honestly know, but I think if you're naive and you think that things won't progress and won't progress rapidly, they are going to progress rapidly.
Hmm.
It's already started. We've this past year and a half, we've moved so far ahead into the future. This is only this is the jump start.
Hmm.
Um, so if you're not ready for flying cars and you know drones and people list cars or transportation or different things like that, you're in for a rude awakening.
Yeah.
Schools, like I said, education is going to struggle if the way that we know life in the past is going to change, and if we don't change with it, then our businesses are going to suffer
Yeah.
drastically. And
That
hey,
like.
this is an opportunity. You see, a lot of people see these things as negatives. I see them as opportunities
Hmm.
because if if you have foresight and you can see where things are going, you can pivot faster. You don't want to be the last person changing on the block.
Right.
You don't
Right.
want to be the last person to get the tool that everybody else has, you know 6 months before you.
It's like
So
the last business changing. You don't want to be that.
right, because you know what, you're not going to be around or you're not going to have customers.
Even school systems, it's so funny that you say that. I saw they've got this one school system that has a billboard here in Grand Rapids, and it's so funny. It has a backpack. I think it's a backpack, and then it has a one of the circles with a thing going through it, and it's like um, basically you don't have to come in anymore, right? And it was like oh god, back to school never or something like that, right? Or back in school, I can't remember exactly, but it's like never. And then it's like something such in virtual net, net high school, or and I thought, man, if this was available when I was coming up, man, I would have been, come on. Sometimes, high school isn't a great experience for people, right? They're, getting bullied, or, if you're in let's say a gang area, you got to take all these different, and I just look at all the different possibilities, right? It's like, wait a minute, I can stay at the house, get my high school education, and go on from there. But then what I'm also finding is that because of this technological part of that, people are becoming very, very skilled, right? So
Mm.
now, will colleges be affected? Because guess what? While in school, you get kind of indoctrinated. Let's just be honest, right? Some of the stuff, hey, where are you going to college, right? You have the counselors talking about that. Well, hey, I'm not at school anymore, so you can't indoctrinate me. You can't get me into that from high school to college pipeline. It may go high school to whatever I'm going to do to make some money, or because I have time now, don't have to go in school, don't have to commute, don't have to deal with the blah 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 from all that. I got time to think about other things, and that could exacerbate the fact that you don't have workers in the same way, right? Coming into stuff because they're used to going into things. Oh man, there's so many different possibilities on both sides, everyone. If you are noticing that you just can't do business the way you used to. That means calling somebody up, getting their resume, looking at it, going, okay, come in. Versus, hey, we see your resume. Can you start tomorrow? But you get to stay home. If you haven't adjusted and adapted that way, you're already out of business, right? If you don't have the work today, paid tomorrow mentality, then you might already be out of business. So we don't want you going out of business, and that's why we have come together and have masterminded on this particular topic. We hope that you guys got some value out of it. Again, as we say always, call us up if you want us to go into some strategies, that we can help you think about as you adjust and adapt to your new approach. We do this stuff. We eat this stuff for breakfast all the time. John and I, as we're running our own companies together, as we run our own companies separately, and as we do our teaching and consulting, we come across a ton of different models and different struggles. And then we come in and just mastermind on them and says, okay, if we need to solve this is what we would do. So you can always give us a call, DM us, and we will come to your company and help you solve some stuff. So John, thank you again for coming in, man, and taking this time to mastermind with the world, if you will. I know they've gotten value. I get value every time we get together. I actually miss when we don't get together like this, right? And don't have a chance. Um, so again, thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, Randy. This is always fun.
All right, everyone. We will see you on the next week. Check out some of our other videos. We've been doing a whole lot of stuff, and I think you'll enjoy some of the things that we've done before. Check them out, and if you ever need to reach out to us, go ahead and do that, and we'll talk soon.